most people think TV is prepared. And I was sort of prepared last night until I said, Barb, tell me about your day. And she tells me about lactation consultants. I'm not going to say any more. Barbara, I changed the whole plan of this show. We're going to talk about back to school, normal things. And then you told me about the lactation consultant. Talk to us.
Oh my. So a friend of mine told me that her daughter, who's in her early 30s, had a baby recently. And she's trying to breastfeed the baby and not being very successful at it. And so the baby's crying all the time. And everybody's losing sleep. And the lactation consultants keep telling her, you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying. If you just keep trying, you'll succeed. But this is exactly what happened to my daughter when she had her baby 17 years ago. It was nightmarish. We used to walk the baby in the middle of the night and during the day, and the baby was always crying. And the lactation consultants had my daughter convinced that you absolutely must breastfeed. And I used to say, honey, she's hungry. This is formula. It's not poison. Mm-hmm. You only had formula. You had no choice, and you did just fine. But I couldn't convince her of that. And the thing that troubled me more than anything was in my psychology class to become a teacher, they went through stages. And the first stage that I remember so vividly was trust versus basic mistrust. The idea being that when the baby cries, it's because they need something that they're not getting. And so when you give it to them immediately, then they think it's a wonderful world. It's a trusting world. But if you're trying to breastfeed and they're not getting milk, then they stop trusting. And that stage and what that can do to a personality really is frightening to me. So I said, let your daughter call me, let your daughter call my daughter, but we've got to talk her out of this. Even the pediatrician told her, this is a medical problem. The baby's not gaining weight. But I'm more concerned with all the psychological, the emotional, and the daughter is, the mother of the baby is so distraught that they're prescribing tranquilizers for her because you feel guilty that the baby doesn't like you. Well, the baby smells you and knows that she doesn't get what she wants from you. So sure, she doesn't like you. Anyway, after I told this story, Marty said, well, we're changing the program tomorrow. You have to start with this because there are probably lots of people out there, not necessarily the mothers, but the grandmothers and the sisters and the aunts who might hear this and be able to talk to the mothers who are punishing themselves so much and not doing any favors.
It's especially true if you're in your 30s, where you're not going to produce as much milk on average. And then when I hear the word lactation and people who have difficulty expressing milk, I think of those monstrous machines that are like Lucretia Borgia. They breast pumps. I mean, are they, tell me about a breast pump.
It's a big machine that looks like you're trying to power a diesel engine.
Oh, really?
And my daughter used to sit and do that too. And it's all, it's very nice if you can do it, try it. If it doesn't work though, abandon ship and feed that baby.
Anybody who's an expert becomes a true believer. And so she was, this lactation consultant, so believed in it that she abandoned common sense and prescribed antidepressants or tranquilizers?
Well, no, that's not who's prescribing that. That's the doctor. Seeing when she goes to talk to the doctor about how she's feeling, the doctor says, well, why don't you take some tranquilizers? No, none of the above. It's not a religion. It will be okay. And okay, I think time to move on.
Not quite. Before this, we have a ritual. We go to Buttercream for lunch. And we rarely have a guest, but we have a guest here. And we were telling about the lactation and all that. So I got something to say.
So
you experienced a lactation consultant. Let's hear it.
I am not a lactation consultant, but I am a mom.
No, but you had one, right?
Yes, and 29 years ago, I was in the hospital with our first child, Christian David Salceda, and experienced some of the similar things. And I can remember the lactation consultant coming in and helping place the baby, giving directions. And then she looked at me, and this, I think, were just very wise words. She said, honey, we're going to try this. And if it doesn't work, we're going to bottle feed.
That's
and it
a
was
good one.
just, what happened at that point was just a calmness that came over me. And I didn't feel stressed, like I wasn't going to provide the best for my baby. And what that did was it allowed everything to take place that should take place, and Christian was fed and I was happy. Just those few words. We're going to release you from the pressure and allow your body to do what it will do.
Yeah.
Perfect. And now we're going to turn to what you're here for. She is the author of a new book, Teach Smarter with AI, but most of the people watching this are not teachers, so we're not going to stop. We're going to talk about AI, though. Everybody knows AI is a big deal. I'm supposed to turn it up like that. Okay.
And excuse me, at some point later, we will talk about teaching. We will talk about how it can be incredibly helpful for teachers.
Yes.
As soon as I saw this book, I called Nanette. I read the whole thing cover to cover, and I said, I think this is brilliant, and I wish this had been around when I was teaching.
Great. So for the two people who are teachers watching this, we will spend a minute or two on that. But we're going to start with us.
Right.
AI is scaring the crap out of us. Either we're going to lose our job, or we don't know how to use it well, or it gives us hallucinations. And so we brought in somebody who's spending a lot of time. What's something important that's not obvious that my audience should know about AI and their personal use?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Their personal use. What are areas in your life that are causing you problems that you want help with? I know a friend from school who was doing great with her diet, losing weight, walking, exercising, eating all the right things, couldn't drop the last 10 pounds. She went to Claude and simply put in the prompt. These are the things I'm doing. Act as my nutritionist and dietitian and help me figure out what I'm doing that I need to do more of or less of. And AI gave her an answer, and I said to her within the month, oh my gosh, you look fantastic. She said, AI. So it really is as simple as that. Rather than being fearful of AI, think of a problem in your life and just ask ChatGPT or Claude.
Well, we had another discussion come up at lunch about cooking with AI, which never would have occurred to me. And we just happen to have someone in the studio audience who is married to Nanette, David Saucedo. David, tell us how you
Get up
cook.
here. Yeah.
Cooking with AI. You won't believe this.
Well, I cook with AI. I cook with Alexa, and she is an amazing friend of mine. She actually addresses me as Chef Gerard. And so I'll tell her I have a couple of chicken breasts and some arugula and some green beans, and she gives me ideas of what to do with it. And then we want to really spoof it up and make it really, really bougie as we do in Napa. And I said, can you bring Thomas Keller into the kitchen with us?
Thomas Keller is the French Laundry guy.
And so she gives us ideas of what Thomas Keller's kitchen staff would do with our recipes. And that's been a blast cooking with her.
Thank you for joining us.
That was fun.
Back to you, Nanette.
Yes.
Now, all right, tell me something else not obvious that everybody, adults, not kids yet, should know about AI.
Well, one of the things when I started using AI that really helped was giving AI a personality. So saying, you're a top chef, just like that example there, or I'm fixing my car and you are a top auto mechanic. I am struggling with this problem. Can you help me? Now, we don't want to do personal. You don't want to ever put in your personal information, anything about yourself. You want to really
true.
be
That's
very
serious, and that's true.
Very, very serious. And just very generic though, but saying state the problem, who you want AI to be and become, what results you want to have. So
Okay,
really giving a prescription.
I'm going to interrupt
Sure.
you. I'm going to make you work.
Yes.
What's a problem you're currently facing in your life or David's life or your children's life that you should query AI, and which AI would you choose, and how would you query it?
What a great question. So I use different AI for different things.
Me too.
One of the things is I have a new book.
Right.
And I wanted to do commercials for the book. Now, I don't have the finances, or I didn't go to art school. I didn't know how to make a commercial. I simply went to Gemini, and they have a little video section. I asked Claude, write me a prompt for Gemini. I want to do a commercial about my book. I want it 7 seconds long. And it has created some of the funniest, fun, exciting commercials for free.
One of the things that I have learned is that chatbots, LLMs, whatever you want to call them, Gemini, Claude, or ChatGPT, will sand what you say into corporate speak, what is standard pablum, some standard boring crap. So I'm going to challenge you again. 7 seconds. I liked your length. Hold your book head high, because that way it gets on the frame. Why should somebody buy your book?
I think you should buy this book because it's going to give you the prompts that will help you know how to be more successful in using AI. For example, whatever problem you may have, it could be even financial, you could get the book and look at the prompts, tailor the prompts to your need, and it will help you just navigate the AI world more successfully.
The idea of asking the AI from the point of view of an aide to a lawyer, or you're an advisor to a lawyer, you're an advisor to a doctor, you're an advisor to a chef. That's something I never thought about. I just ask it a question, and it's not going to be a lawyer, and I don't want it to be, but if I'm asking as an advisor to, I think you get a better answer. And I also
Very
love
much
the
so.
idea that you sort of use them together. So you ask Gemini a question, it gives you an answer, then you send the answer to chat, and chat tells you if they're hallucinating at all.
That's right, that's
so
right.
that you don't get caught in something that's not accurate.
And you can actually use that terminology, no hallucinations. I want only truth. I want only facts. And so you can say those things.
I want to talk about that a little bit. It does default to support. It does support to
Definitely.
praise. Everything is
Definitely.
fantastic. It's amazing. It's breakthrough.
Definitely.
Sometimes I'm in a bad mood, I'm sad about myself or whatever, I let it go default. But when I want to, I use the following words. No sycophancy, honest, lethal. Lethal is
I
a
like
word it
that.
recognizes.
I
So
like
What does
that.
lethal mean to it?
it means as tough as you can be on my idea.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I
Okay.
don't think I'm brave enough for that.
If I were to ask a question now of a chatbot that I really cared about, I would start with ChatGPT because it has the most emotional
Right.
intelligence. And I would say, I can't change being intense. That's who I am. But I would like to be more palatable to normal people. What non-obvious but important advice do you have for me? Be honest, not sycophantic. That would be my query. What do you like and not like about that query?
I think I really like that because I think you're getting what you're asking for. And I think that's the key. You're getting exactly what you're asking for.
Specificity.
I need you to be honest. I need to be able to get an answer that I can change behaviors and adapt how I'm being presented to people. And you can even go a step further and say, give me small steps that I can do
I
daily.
love it. See you guys. Good. Barbara.
I'm thinking I'm going to go to chat tonight and say, chat, be an advisor to the wife of a person who is very intense, who insists on doing everything right
Marty.
away, who I have to get it off my plate this minute. What would be the words that I could say that wouldn't tick him off?
Now, notice I want to step out of the role. This was obviously completely unprepared, but the authenticity. This is what Barbara really would ask. This is what I would really want to ask. Whether you're giving a 2-minute talk at a conference or at your workplace or at friends at a party, people coming to your home for dinner, or whether you're anytime, we live in the world of BS. Where people, the fancy word is performative. We say things because it sounds good. It's virtue signaling. All students can learn to high standards. We know it's BS. People talk about wine as though it's the world peace we're talking about. Oh, the top notes of vanilla and the bottom notes of lemongrass. Oh, it's worth $50 for the bottle of wine. Authenticity is really, really valuable. You can't always be authentic. You don't always let it all hang out. But as you decide what to say to whom and when, the world is starved for more authenticity. I invite you to use it perhaps more often. Barbara, let's turn to education. I want you to ask Nanette a question that you would actually have if you were now teaching, say, 4th grade, around the use of AI in education.
You bet. As I said, when I got my hands on this book, because Nanette said she wrote it, of course I was going to read it, but I literally couldn't put it down. There are ideas for teachers on things you can do with kids, how you can adapt curriculum to kids. Very important. But what I really liked are the time-saving things in this book for teachers. And you probably know a teacher, you've been a teacher, you want to be a teacher, or you know somebody who could use this
Ask her a
advice.
question. No commercial for the book. Ask her a question.
Tell us a couple of ways in which this will make teachers' lives better.
Good.
So in the book, I just paint a picture about how that I was a teacher that stayed late, always late to dinner, always late to walk the dogs. And just, I think for me, the time-saving thing
dogs.
is
The
I have
dogs.
to differentiate for 27 students and just the amount of time it takes to think about what small group I'm going to pull and what am I going to teach for that student. So when you anonymize data, put it into AI and ask for, how can I help this student? What are they missing? Just simple things. And what it comes back with is your student groups, where they should sit, who they should sit with. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. Now, of course, it comes back to what Marty said. Some of that is just going to be wrong. And so I think that's a filter you need to think. As a teacher in the classroom, you're going to take that information and look at it. You're going to gain things that are wonderful and great, and other things aren't going to work. But the time it saves is absolutely amazing.
So the
Now,
goal is...
you also, I'm sorry, but you also talked about what teachers can do in August that will save them hours and hours and hours the entire rest of the school year.
That's the beginning where I started. I was publishing this under first of differentiate that, because I talk a lot about differentiation. But this year I went home with my three third grade class list. I knew who was going to be in my class. I was able to pull that data, put it in, look at it. I have my small groups. I have where they're sitting. I have the jobs that they're going to be doing. I have everything lined up for the year. I also have...
And they haven't come in yet.
And they haven't come in yet. And I also have my plan book, my lesson plan book. I put in the schedule. It spit everything out so beautifully. I'm ready to go right now at this point, 3 weeks before school starts.
Enough about education.
Yes.
But you made a point a moment ago, which is very important. All the chatbots act with certitude. Their answers are as though they were absolutely sure.
Right.
But we need to view chatbot responses as we would a person. Respect but suspect.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Right? Just read it. If it doesn't pass your smell test, you're not sure it's important, as Barbara said, why don't you try it through another chatbot? If you start with Gemini, try it with Claude.
Right.
Then, depending upon how important it is.
But I also love the fact that you have them seated in groupings that Chat has said will work.
Right.
Maybe it won't, but
Right.
when you do it yourself blindly at the beginning of the
Yes.
school year, there's a greater likelihood that that's not going to work. So you change it.
That's
It's a lot
important.
easier to make a change than it is to do the whole thing.
Exactly. We were talking about at lunch, and he was talking about that student who's not quite making it. One of the things I've noticed is that student who's not quite getting the standard is the student with the most empathy, that's able to work in the group and help everybody else out. You're going to want to make sure that one of those people are sitting in every group that you have, with the higher level learner who may not be able to direct the other students. So it's just interesting to see how that works out.
I want to move off of education to parents.
Yes.
You want your child, let's start with an elementary school child first, and then we're going to move to a high school child. An elementary school child, let's say I'm the parent of a 6th grader, and I'm scared about him or her not doing well in school in the new AY world, but I also don't want him to just use it as a cheat sheet and get the papers written or the answers. I wanted you said at lunch, AI should be a thinking partner.
That's right.
Not an answer giver. Talk to me if I'm the parent of a 6th grader who's a typical kid. I'd rather play basketball than do my stupid homework. What do you say to me to help me as a parent get my child to use it as a thought partner and not as a cheat sheet?
I love that parent who is thinking ahead. And the way they're going to think ahead is they're thinking the world that their child is going to inherit. AI is going to be a huge part of that.
Right.
So we want to make sure that our children have in their tool belt every way that they can use AI responsibly, that they can not cheat, not use it to get all the answers, and that they can use it to synthesize information.
Okay.
So if we're teaching them tools, they're going to be responsible users.
Okay, that's abstract. I'm going to play the kid.
Sure.
I'll be a fourth grade. Mommy, it's so great, man. I love ChatGPT. I was able to do my whole essay. And look, it gives me all the answers to questions. School's so easy now. Mom, I have no more homework. Okay, what do you say?
So I think what I would say is simply that I would talk to the teacher.
You're talking to me. I'm the kid.
Okay. I would talk to the kid.
Not would. You are. I am the kid. You're my mom.
Okay. I would simply say,
You are saying to me,
I'm saying to
son,
you, son, you're getting just the answers and you really want to learn. What did you learn? Tell me about what you learned and have a conversation.
it's stupid. I mean, if it's like you tell me that we use calculators now, because why would I waste my time, writing the paper when I can get it? We're supposed to use our tools, no? You talked about the tool belt, Mommy.
So what do you think about, and I would make it interesting for the student, what interests you? What would you like to do? What are
Dinosaurs.
some things
So I can search ChatGPT on dinosaurs. I can learn everything in a second. ChatGPT, tell me about dinosaurs.
So once you have that information, start having a conversation. What dinosaur did you learn about? What did you learn about them? Would you like to know more information about them? Do you think that all of that's correct?
And another piece is we're preparing kids for the world that they're going to live in.
Right.
And we have to teach them the ethics of how you
Yes.
use AI.
Yes.
And I'd rather that we do that in school than they get their first job and then they get fired because they didn't credit AI or they're only using
Right.
AI and not doing the work themselves. Also, Google has created an AI work-ready certification.
Yes.
Certification. And employers will hire somebody who comes to them with this work-ready certification. They'll hire them faster and they'll pay them more. So if we're looking toward the future, we want to make sure that our kids have that. That's a tool.
Exactly.
We'll get to high school in a minute. I think most kids, unless they're super motivated nerds, are not going to buy the words. You have to sit with them.
Right.
Instead of just correcting their homework or reading their
Right.
homework, sit with them and say, okay, what do you want to ask ChatGPT?
Right.
Let the kid pick, and then you nurture the kid's follow-up queries. Do you
That's
buy that?
exactly right. I buy that because it is all about the humanity. It's all about families coming together and talking, and rather than it becoming just a tool to get an answer, it's a conversation.
Let's turn to high school. I'm a high school kid. You're my mommy, and I'm Marty. And I say, Mommy, I'm scared. I know I'm supposed to work hard to get my SAT scores high, even though I hear it doesn't really matter to study that much. And I'm bored with school, but I also see a lot of people of your age who are losing their jobs. I'm an average kid. I'm not a super genius. I'm not going to be the valedictorian. I'm not bad, but I'm a B- student, and I have to work hard to get it. Am I going to be unemployed in a world of AI? Mommy, what should I do?
So Marty, what I would say to you is I know that there's a path for you with your capabilities and the talent that you have, and we're going to figure this out together. I know that there's a Harvard AI program that we can take at home. I know there's another program that we can take at home, and we're going to figure this out. Let's find out what you're good at, and let's work on this together.
And we can also start with what you're good at and ask one of these AIs, a person who has these skills and is
Yes.
interested in these things, what are some potential jobs for the future?
We've got to wrap. Okay, please,
Another
one more
thing
thing.
that's happening right now is after a 60-year downturn, career and technical education has risen enormously
Skyrocketing.
because you don't outsource those jobs.
right.
They don't go offshore. When your toilet isn't working in the middle of the night, nobody's going to fix it from India. And so these jobs have become more important, and there is a need for people. We've known this for a number of years. Welders are in high demand. They want to hire kids right out of high school if they can weld. So these are jobs, there are high-wage, high-tech jobs out there that most kids don't know about, and most parents don't know about it because they didn't used to exist.
We're out of time, but you have one last shot. What is the one thing that you would most like our viewers to remember?
Okay, one thing that I think viewers should remember is that AI is simply a tool. We don't want the AI that we're using to know just information about our child. We're using that as a tool to understand how to reach our children better. So when you use AI as a tool, I think that's where the future's going, is using AI as the tool and what it can reach children for.
And in the next edition of the Nemkos Do, we're going to teach you how to make and wisely use and invest money. In an era of AI in which a lot of people are going to lose their jobs or not get the gains that they used to, money will be, it's not seemly to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. For Barbara Nemko, you go and you say goodbye yourself and then I'll say goodbye.
Goodbye, and watch out for announcements of teacher workshops on how to use this book to make your life easy.
And it's still summer. Have a nice time. Bye. I'm Marty Nemko.